The civil rights movement got results, and it inspired a lot of other movements at the same time. Gay rights, the American Indian movement, rights for the disabled, and the biggest of them all, the women's movement. The women's movement said it was there for the benefit of all women.
Every ideology and style, religious preference, every racial and ethnic group, income and age is represented. The American rainbow.
It was easy to portray it that way, and easy for the activists to believe it. With 50 years distance, though, it's pretty evident. Rather than representing the American rainbow, the bulk of the women involved in the movement were white.
We did ask that we not be segregated into minority women on your own, and that we wanted to be part of the mainstream of women, and that we wanted to be included in every part of the plan.
This video is from the National Women's Conference, the biggest and loudest expression of the feminist movement's agenda. Everything that the movement wanted government and society to focus on. Listen to the list and think to yourself, whose priorities are these?
Overwhelming majorities approved wide-ranging proposals from national health insurance, the arts and humanities, child care and child abuse, credit, disabled women, homemakers' rights, insurance, employment discrimination, reform of the news media, rape, the needs of older and rural women, and of course, the headline issues, support for the Equal Rights Amendment, legal abortion and lesbian rights, a comprehensive laundry list for American women.
Whose priorities? Paula Giddings wrote this monumental exploration of the black woman in American history. She said they were the priorities of two groups: middle-class women with little history of racial sensitivity and a radical fringe that thought male supremacy, rather than white supremacy, was the root of oppression. A few years before the Women's Conference, Toni Morrison wrote this for the New York Times Sunday magazine. What she felt towards the women's movement was distrust. It's white, she said, and therefore suspect. Here's a story to help you understand what she meant. At exactly the time the Women's Conference was going on, Gloria Hewlett-Smith was leaving the Ivy League campus of the University of Pennsylvania. She had just finished earning a master's degree in computer science engineering. Gloria worked at NASA in Alabama. She was at Penn, in part, to prove something to her bosses. She'd been at NASA for 10 years, and as a black woman, she understood how she was seen.
They really thought you were stupid, first of all, because you were black, and then if you're female, then you're not capable of doing some of the things that they were doing.
With an Ivy League master's degree, maybe now she'd get a promotion. Now, at this time, women both black and white were being denied promotions at NASA. Supervisors weren't even shy about it. Carolyn Huntoon would rise to become the first female director at Johnson Space Center. She can remember asking for a promotion and being told,
"But I only have a few people that I can put in for promotion." And he says, "And you're a woman, and you're married, and your husband gets a good salary and all. And these other guys, some of them, their wives don't work, and their husband, they only have one salary, and so I'll promote them before you."
But on top of all of that, Gloria Hewlett-Smith had to endure the kind of microaggressions that black employees at NASA experienced all the time. There was the whites-only advanced training program. Her center was accused of having designated black office jobs and white office jobs. Black workers were punished for standing up for coworkers in the agency's voluntary equal employment program. A letter to the Alabama NASA Center director told him that there had never been a more unhappy and disillusioned group of blacks than Gloria and her coworkers. So race discrimination at NASA in Alabama was also clearly a problem. But when you look at what Gloria did about it, you can see the feminist movement's blind spot. As Gloria's mentor, Clyde Foster, had said, the racism eats away at your soul.
You feel like you are a piece of dynamite ready to explode. And the only thing it takes was but a little fire cigarette butt and light the fuse.
After getting back from Penn and still being denied, it was time for Gloria Hewlett-Smith to explode. Black NASA employees had been suing the agency throughout the 1970s. 12 lawsuits in the first 4 years of the decade, 3 in Alabama. Gloria looked around at the national landscape. She saw Supreme Court decisions on workplace discrimination, maternity leave, women serving on juries, the use of birth control. She called a lawyer and filed suit against NASA for race and sex discrimination. Other black NASA employees joined her suit. She also reached out to white women because she knew they'd seen discrimination too. In the end, none of them joined in.
I was talked into giving up my sex part of it. I was the only one that filed about that. So that had to be separated.
So that's what Toni Morrison meant when she said that black women felt distrust. White women weren't your friend, and they never had been.
I'm sorry. It's the first time I've hired a maid.
In so much of America and for so many years, this was the relationship between black and white women. It's kind of tough to use the proper term in this next part of the story because there was no one accepted term for people who did that kind of work. The government used the word domestics. Some white people said the help. But in this book, a woman named Annie Victoria Johnson makes one thing clear. The job title was not maid. She said maids worked in hotels. When she was working in homes, Annie said with a laugh, I was just a black girl working for white folks. It was common for white women to treat black domestic workers like children. No matter how unreasonable the request was, the black girl had to obey. She was praised like a child, and like children, she was given what the white family saw as gifts. There was a tradition that went back to slavery, where white women wouldn't pay domestic workers. Instead, they'd give them old clothes and other things that the white family didn't need anymore. It was demeaning, it was drudgery, but it was better than sharecropping. And under the right circumstances, it could have its advantages. In fact, a domestic was responsible for NASA hiring its first black woman in the South, Jeanette Sissom.
My mother was a domestic. She worked for some very influential people over in Gunnersville.
One of them was the mother of Art Sanderson, the head of personnel at NASA in Alabama. Jeanette had a math degree, but kept on getting turned down at NASA. But Jeanette's mother, Mattie Alexander, knew how to use her secret weapon, the special relationship white women had with the black women who worked in their homes.
My mother talked to Art's mother, and she said, tell her to go over and talk to Art because I know that they are looking for minorities.
Vice President Johnson had been leaning on NASA to hire black people in Huntsville, Alabama. Art Sanderson set her up to talk with one of the Nazis who ran the center.
It didn't go too well because he didn't want to talk about anything but my music. I see you take music. Do you sing? Can you sing? And after a few questions like that, I just said, I don't understand. That's not what I'm interviewing for. So he got a little irritated and said, you think I'm going to hire you? Got up and left.
Her mother twisted the arm of the lady of the house a couple more times, and finally, Jeanette got a job. She became the go-to person if you were being discriminated against. NASA management got tired of her doing that and told her to knock it off. Jeanette did not. Toni Morrison expressed distrust of the women's movement in the 1970s, but the distrust goes back to a women's movement even older than that. The women's suffrage movement happened at the height of Jim Crow. Separate bathrooms, separate schools, black men being lynched, and back then, you didn't have to be cagey about your racism. In 1918, an amendment passed the U.S. House to give women the right to vote, but Southern senators changed it so that only white women could vote. The women's movement did nothing. In fact, the next year, Mary Church Terrell told the NAACP that suffragist Alice Paul had said, "We are organizing white women in the South." Negro men cannot vote in South Carolina, Paul said, and therefore Negro women could not if women were to vote in the nation. They wanted voting rights for women. Throwing in black women too just messed up the argument. It made it too hard. Jump ahead 50 years and the hard feelings largely continued. In 1968, while black women mourned the students killed at South Carolina State and the assassination of Martin Luther King, while feminists staged a protest of the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City, many black women sneered. Same thing when the killings continued at Jackson State and Southern universities in the 1970s, while feminists were burning their bras and fighting to use the term Ms. As Toni Morrison put it in that article, it's a source of amusement even now to black women to listen to feminists talk about liberation, while somebody's nice black grandmother shoulders the daily responsibility of child-rearing. If women's lib need these grandmothers to thrive, she said, there's a serious flaw. There were black women who stood together with white women in the feminist movement, of course. There were even some black women at that Miss America protest. For the most part, though, black women who stood up for women's rights did so with an understanding that the major systems of oppression in America are interlocking. There was sexist oppression to fight, sure, but there was also capitalist oppression, poverty, inequality, and racial oppression. There was just a lot of American life for a black woman to cope with.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman.
If what the black woman thought of women's lib was tinged with hostility, in a way it had to be. And it had everything to do with black women and white women and how different their lives could be from one another.